Ram, Jai Janendra. We'll start with the Pratna as usual. Namo Orientanam, Namo Sittanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Utsayanam, Namo Loe Sabba Sahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro Sabba Pava Panasano, Mangalanancha Sabbe Sim Padamam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sittanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Utsayanam, Namo Loe Sabba Sahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro Sabba Pavapanasano Mangalanancha Sabbe Sim Paramam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sittanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Utsayanam, Namo Loe Sabba Sahunam. Eso Panchanamukaro Sabba Pavapanasano Mangalanancha Sabbe Sim Paramam Havai Mangalam. Veera Sarasura Surendra Mahito Virambhuda Sansrita वीरेण बीहत स्वकर्मनिचयो वीराय नित्यं नमः वीरातीर्थमिदं प्रभुतमतुलं वीरस्य घोरं तपो वीरश्रीधृतिकीर्तिकान्तिनिचय श्रीवीरभद्रं दिश कमठे धरणेन्द्र च शोचितं कर्म कुर्वति प्रभुस्थल्य मनोवृत्ति पार्श्वनाथ श्रीस्तु वः वसगहरं पासं पासमन्नामेकमगणमुखं विसहर विसनिनासं मङ्गलकल्याणावासं विसहरफुलिङ्गमन्तं कण्ठे दारे ईजोस्यामणो तसगहरोगमारिडुठजराजन्ति ओसामं चिट्ठौ दुरेमन्तो तुष्पणमो विबहुफलो होय नरतिर्येषु विजिवा पावन्ति न दुःखदोगचम् तुह समते लते चिन्तामणिगप्पाय ववैये पावन्ति अविघ्नं जीवाय रामरं ठाणं ये सन्थो महायस पत्तिभर निभरेण हियेण तादेव दिज्जबोहिं भवे भवे पासचिणचन्द अंगूठे अमृतोऽसि लप्तितणा भण्डार श्री गुरु गौतम समर्ये मनवाञ्छित फलदातार. Okay, welcome everybody to our class on the lives of Bhagwan Parshvanath. We move on. We will try and discuss certain other aspects of learning from these stories today. And we will cover the last life and the next lives in brief. But I wanted to try and explore with you all the reasons behind the vastly different journeys of these two souls and the forces that bring them back together after billions of years, a huge amount of time, to fulfill their individual destinies and their connections, and to try and understand what is at the root of this natural pull or attraction that brings them together through huge amount of time and through the huge infinite universe, and bring them together at the same time in the same place to fulfill the destiny that is being fulfilled is from Kamat's side, and that is to accomplish what is hatred for his brother Marubhuti when the seeds of this hatred were laid down in the first life. And as far as Bhagwan Parshvanath's Jeev, his soul, is concerned, As Marubhuti, he's always maintained complete equanimity, complete peace, a loving nature, no underlying element of dislike or hatred. And we see what happens to his soul. And on the other hand, we see what happens to Kamat's soul in life after life. Let me share my slides and we'll start our discussion there. But I just wanted to explain certain things, and I know you have a lot of questions. We did explore a bit about Devlok, and Vijay has kindly sent me a very good diagram that I think explains a lot of these things very nicely, and I'll share that with you. We will not be able to go into much detail of this, but I think it's enough to understand what Jain Dharma is talking about. But what I wanted to explore with a lot of you, because I know these subjects are very new to you, they may stretch your imagination, and for a lot of the participants in this course, it may stretch your belief. And to explore some of the logic that you can apply to accept this, and what is it that you would believe in. And if you have doubts, I'm hoping that you are able to speak them so that we can discuss them for the benefit of everybody. I know many of you do have certain doubts, but there is no silly question, there is no stupid question. Please ask. You've touched on what is Narak and what kind of punishment and pain happens in those places. And we'll come back to the question of why Devlok and Narak exist. And also at that point, try and explore with those of you who may find this difficult to believe, how we can understand this. Who is a Dev? The Pavana Sutra offers a detailed description about Jeev and its different paryas, meaning different states of existence under different point of time. And as we all know, there are four gatis or four different types of life, that sansari life, that a soul can move into from one life to another. There is Dev Gati, there is Narak Gati, there is Manushya Gati, and there is Tiryansh Gati. Tiryanch Gati includes all plant and animal life and the life of other one-sensed organisms like fire, water, wind, and Prithvi. Prithvi means soil, rock. Jain Dharma says that these one-sensed organisms are so earth or Prithvi Kai. Prithvi is earth. That includes soil, mud, rocks, all that. Whether a particular Prithvi Kai at any particular moment is alive and that there is a live soul in there, or whether that is just the body of a soul that has departed, it would be impossible for us to know. But Jain Dharma also says that there are other one-sensed life forms. Prithvikai, Upkai refers to water, one-sensed jeeves, not lives that exist within the water, but the body of the water itself being a life form. Prithvikai, Apkai, Tevkai, fire, that includes all kinds of fire, including electricity, and Tevkai is all kinds of energy that we see as being, and that itself is a life form. Vaukai, so different kinds of gaseous matter is also the body of the lives that are described as Vaukai, that is of Vayu. Vayu is wind, or Vayu is, and there are different kinds of winds. And then we got Ekin, Pratyek Vanaspati and Sadharana Vanaspati. Pratyek Vanaspati is something that we can see clearly, like trees, leaves, flowers, and Sadharana Vanaspati are sort of scattered everywhere, and those are, say, things like moss, and there is a lot of different varieties. And when we talk about 8.4 million species or 8.4 million yonis, it's not actually translated, it does not translate well as species. When we say 84 lakh, 8.4 million yoni means different places where those lives can be born in. So there is 7 lakh, so 700,000 Prithvikai, 7 lakh Apkai, that is water-based life forms, 7 lakh Tevkai, so fire type of life form, 7 lakh or 700,000 Vaukai, means wind-bodied life forms. 10 lakh means 100,000 or 1 million Pratyek Vanaspatikai, 1 million Pratyek Vanaspatikai, and 14 lakh meaning 1.4 million Sadharana Vanaspatikai. Then 200,000 be Indriya, 2 sense life forms, 200,000 3 sense life forms, 200,000 4 sense life forms. Then 4 lakh Devta, 4 lakhs of different yonis of devs, 4 lakh Devta, 4 lakh Narki, 400,000 different yonis of Narak, 4 lakh Devta, 4 lakh Narki, 4 lakh Tiryanch Panchendriya, so 5 sensed life forms in animal bodies. So all the animals that we see around us, and 14 lakh, meaning 1.4 million Manushya. So different types of places where Manushya can be born in. And in total, all this form 8.4 million different yonis, in which 84 lakh jiva yoni, where all these life forms can be born in. And this particular concept exists in other Eastern religions as well, and the number is the same. There is a belief in, if you listen to some people from the Hindu faith, they would say that uh, one only gets a human life after having gone through the cycle of all the other 8.4 million different lives, and then finally comes down into a human life, and that is why it is most valuable. Jain Dharma doesn't say that a life form can go through all different kinds of lives from one sense to five sense, and from a human life it can drop down to one sense, two sense, three sense, other subhuman life forms, go to Devlok, to go to Naraklok, and that cycle is not necessarily sequential. That cycle can be very, very erratic, and one can go up and down in different lives all the time. So this particular slide says Manushya Gati, that is human beings, Tiryanj Gati, animals, plant, Narak Gati, hellish beings, and Dev Gati, that is celestial beings. The jivas who are in the life paryay of a narak due to uday effect of narak gati nam karma, one of the 8 karmas, is narki jiv. Similarly, it can be understood for all the 4 gatis. Jivs in Devgati are classified under 4 main subcategories. That's Bhavanpati, Vamyantar, Jyotishi, and Vaimanik. Now, I don't know how clearly you can see this slide on your screens, but what this depicts is the shape of the universe as described in Jain Dharma, and this is known as 14 Rajlok or Chaud Rajulok. Raju is a measure of distance, and as you can see, the middle part, which is called middle world or Madhyalok, it is where we are, and that consists of transverse world, which is 1,800 yojans high, meaning at the center of it on Jambudvip, the part of the universe where we are currently. We are in the southern part of that, and north from us, in the middle of this Jambudvip, is a mountain called Meru Parvat. There are other Meru Parvats as well, but this particular Meru Parvat is right in the middle. And around this Jambudvip, there is a huge ocean, and then again there is a huge landmass. It is said that if, say, if the Jambudvip is 1 lakh yojans, so 100,000 yojans, the Lavan Samudra that surrounds it is 2 lakh yojans, and progressively there is landmass, ocean, landmass, ocean, landmass, ocean, and each subsequent ocean and landmass doubles in size from the previous one. And that goes on into an asankhya meaning something that you can't give a number to. Dvip and Samudra, meaning landmass, ocean, meaning a huge number of landmasses and oceans all around. And the last ocean that borders the end of the Lok Akash, that is the end of the universe within which bodies can move, is called Swayam Bhugramana. That is the largest ocean, and Swayam Bhugramana is in the middle region, the end of the world. So that is where we see the middle region there. The orange colored hollow tube depicted here that you see, at the top, it is Siddh Shila, where all souls which are liberated and climb straight up into a position there to stay there permanently. Those are all the Siddh Bhagwans are currently residing there, and every soul which is completely liberated from cycles of birth and death goes straight up into Siddh Shila. That is the abode of all those Jeeves who are in moksha. Siddh Shila is 45 lakh yojans in diameter from one end to the other. The importance of that central tube, which is called Tras Nadi, is that life forms move within it, and a soul can go to moksha from any of the area in the middle region, that is from the middle region, not Devlok or not Naraklok, but from the middle region, from anywhere within that 45 lakh yojans, and go straight up. The area that is occupied by the Devs is the area in the middle region, and then further up. And what you see in this diagram is the Devloks labeled there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And above that, so Navgraveyak, and then above that, 5 Anutar Vimans, and beyond that, the Siddh Shila. So that is right at the top. In the middle region, we have Mount Meru and orbits of moving and stationary stellar gods. So all the taras, chandras, all the stars, nakshatras, moons, suns are called Jyotish Dev. So some of them are mobile, some of them are immobile. So Chal and Achal, innumerable continents and seas in the middle region. And there are Bhavanpati Devs, so 10 kinds of Jimbak Dev, 16 kinds of interstitial gods, 16 kinds of Yantar gods, 10 abodes of dwelling gods, abode dwelling gods, 10 abode dwelling gods, 10 Bhavanpati, 15 Paramadhami gods. So Paramadhami gods, as I mentioned, are the ones whose job it is to punish those souls in Narak, in the top two naraks, I think, two or maybe three. And then these are the different sort of kinds of gods that live within the middle region. There are gods who live within the middle region, so in the forests and other places, and they include gods like Bhut, Pisach, Vyantar, Van Vyantar, and there are many different kinds. The minimum lifespan of a god is 10,000 years. That would generally be in the lower regions, also in the lower category of gods or devs. And the maximum lifespan in the highest category is 33 Sagarupams. That is about Devloks. Can you all actually see the expanded version when I enlarge it?
Yeah.
You can. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So then this makes it clearer to everybody. So it says here, ultra cosmic space, that is Alokakash. Alok means all there is space. Nothing else exists there because there is no Dharmastikai and there is no Adharmastikai. Dharmastikai is basically the dravya that allows bodies to move. Adharmastikai is the dravya or the entity, or no, sorry, not the entity, but a dravya or a substance which allows bodies to stay still. So Dharmastikai and Adharmastikai exist within Lokakash, and therefore bodies can move within Lokakash, which is the size of 14 Rajulok, like this. So here on the 5th and the 6th, there's a mention of 9 Lokantik gods or 9 Lokantik devs. The 9 Lokantik devs have a particular duty for every Tirthankar Paramatma when the time comes, about a year before they are meant to take Diksha. The Lokantik devs would come down and remind, that is part of their duty, though every Tirthankar Paramatma knows that the time has come to take Diksha, but the Lokantik devs would come down and pray and bow down to the Tirthankar Paramatma and urge him to do the necessary to start a tirth of dharma. And that happens about a year before the Diksha. And from that day onwards, the Tirthankar Paramatma detaches himself from worldly life and spends a whole year giving away wealth to anybody who comes asking for it. And they spend a whole year morning till evening, and there's a huge amount of wealth that is distributed. That wealth is anything that they may have possessed as the king of Tuatri where they are living, but the devs themselves would search and find all hidden treasures from any time in the past, bring it all to the Tirthankar Paramatma to then distribute. So that is the function of the 9 Lokantik Devs, to remind Tirthankar Paramatmas about the time that is ripe for taking Diksha. Then we got 3 Kilwish gods. And then in the middle region, we got 13 Pratar. Sorry, above the middle region. So orbits of moving and stationary stellar gods, Char Achar, Jyotish Chakra, and innumerable continents and seas, Asankhya Deep and Samudra. And then below that, first hell. And if you look at the writing on the left, say where the 7 and 8, so these are the distances, these are Rajus. So we are in the middle. There are 7 Rajus above us, 7 Rajus below us. That is the distance. Okay.
Pranam, Ajitbhai, can I ask you, the Bharat Kshetras, all the 5 Bharat Kshetras and the 5 Eravat Kshetras, are they all in the middle world?
Yes, they are all
Yeah.
in the middle world, and they are within the 2.5 dwips. So the central dwip, Jambu Dwip, then Jambu Dwip, Lavan Samudra, then Airavat, no,
Gatki Khand.
Katki Khand, and then another Samudra, and then Puskara Vart Dwip. So Jambu Dwip, Katki Khand, thank you, Bharatbhai, and Puskara Vart Dwip. Puskara Vart Dwip is around the other ocean, and half of that, so in the middle of Puskara Vart Dwip, there is a mountain range which divides that particular landmass into the inner part and the outer part. The inner part is part of the Adhidvip, so there is 2.5 dwips. And in total, the distance from the center to the outer circumference of this Puskara Dvip is 45 lakh yojans, 45 lakh yojans, and it is only within that region that any soul can go to moksha and go straight up to Siddhshila. Okay. Now, just a small word here. If you look at the writing on the left, it said dense water, Ghanodadi, dense air, Ghanvat. So the border of the universe, so the universe is enveloped in this kind of material, and that kind of material also exists in the substrata, and those are basically the dividers, and there is a lot of description about this. I'm not very familiar with this, but if you wanted to discuss this at some stage, it's going to require a lot of in-depth study, but this is something that is mentioned in Tattvat Sutra. So at the bottom here, there is Ganodadi, Ghanvat, and Tanvat. So dense water, dense air, and light air. Those are the sort of the materials that surround all these masses, and they basically envelop these masses. And beyond that shape, you've got Alokakash, where there is nothing. Okay. Thank you, Vijay Ben, for sharing this detailed diagram. And there is a lot more to learn. I think you're currently doing this with Neela Ben from Nairobi, Vijay Ben, but I think Hitesh Pai has covered this topic. And those of you who may be interested in Jain geography, there are lots of videos by Digambar teacher called Dr. I can find that for you, but there is
Dr. Sanjeev Goda.
Sanjeev Goda. Thank you, Bharat. So Sanjeev Goda has done some beautiful videos explaining all this very beautifully, but they are in Hindi. Those of you who can understand that, it would be worth actually going through those videos. That would help. Okay.
Ajitbhai, can I just ask
Yeah.
briefly? So,
Yeah.
what physical forms of life would inhabit the devloks and the narak?
So the Devs have a body which is similar to ours, but the size of that original body varies. In the lower Devloks, they are much bigger and larger. In the upper Devloks, as we go further up and up, their original bodies become smaller and smaller. So I think then there are descriptions of the size of the body of the Devs in the uppermost Devloks. And my understanding is that they would occupy, the original body size would be about 1.5 feet, 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
One heart.
One half, yeah. So
Okay.
about 18 inches or something like that. Their lifespans are extremely long. The level of their peace and happiness is at the maximum possible for those at the highest Devlok. And a lot of their time for those who are samyakti is spent in meditation. So the level of joy and peace is something that is uncomparable. But it is also said that a Muni Bhagwant or a sadhu, who is a human being, soon after taking Diksha, within a few months, when they reach a certain level of spiritual development, their level of happiness or anand exceeds or far exceeds the experience of the souls in Devlok. So, and as I mentioned before, Devis do not exist in the upper Devloks, or they're not born there, but a lot of Devis can travel further up into the other Devloks when they are requested to go. And all Devs and all Naraks are not born of a union of a man and a woman. Devs and Naraks they are get born in something that is called a Dev Syaya, that is, it's a spontaneous generation. The soul comes into this space where there is material that then is used to make the life form of a Dev, and that is the manner of their birth. So they are not born as a result of the union of a man and a woman. But
And do
apart
they
from,
have the standard sense? What
yes,
sense do they
they
have?
have the standard sense, but their requirement for food is very minimal. They imbibe material from the atmosphere. They use a particular kind of material called Vaikriya. Vaikriya is a material that can change So Vaikriya Pudgal is material that can be shaped in any way. So their bodies are modifiable to whatever shape and form they desire to take. And they have huge powers of, so their ability to travel and the speed with which they can travel and what they can form out of material is for those who are more accomplished and those who are of a higher power, there is very little limit. So all devs when a Tirthankar Paramatma begins to give Deshna, wherever he goes, they create the Samvasran at every new place within a very short time. So the power to create that, if you read Jain Ramayana, there is a story that after Ram, Lakshman, they started off in their 14-year exile into the forest. In the first place that they came to, a Dev who was particularly attracted to Ram creates a whole city for them within a clearing in the forest and overnight. So he creates a whole city and they spend some time in that city. And there are stories of devs who created all those kinds of things as well. So their powers are fantastic, but the powers would vary depending on the level of at which they are born. So the devs in the higher devloks would obviously have more power, but a lot of the devs in the highest devlok don't even come down, and they are spending all their time in meditation, and they communicate with Kevali Bhagwans or Tirthankar Paramatmas mentally. So if they are in contemplation and they've got a question, they can ask a Tirthankar Paramatma mentally and they are given an answer mentally.
Okay. Thank you.
Hope that answers your question. And
Yeah,
in Narak, there is just pain and pain and pain and suffering.
Mhm.
Is it likely that we've been in any of those gatis? Absolutely, probably millions of times. We've been devs and we've gone to Narak.
Mhm.
We've forgotten. That is why we carry on making the same mistakes life after life.
Mm.
And we've seen the journeys of the souls who are destined to become Tirthankar Paramatmas like Bhagwan Mahavir. And we know that his soul spent life in Narak and in Tiryanj Gati. When we look at Bhagwan Parshvanath's life, we know that his second life was that of an elephant, but then all subsequent lives have been either Manushya or Dev. Not all, a lot of souls like ours would spend life in all four gatis. The sad thing is that it is not impossible and it's not difficult to go back to one sense life forms and spend a huge amount of time in that, even after you have achieved a level of spiritual understanding and got into a level of spiritual understanding that guarantees, or spiritual development that guarantees your moksha in the future. But before you get to that, you can spend millions of lives in subhuman life forms, including Nigodha.
Mhm.
Ajitbhai,
Yeah.
Pranam. Just wanted to check my understanding. There's a Devgati and we're in the middle. Upper is the Devlok, and the bottom is the Narak lok. But then, am I right in understanding there's something you've written, there's in the chart which says there are devs in the Narak?
Yes, they
I thought there'll be dev in the Devgat lok only.
they are. So the devs in the Naraklok, the Paramadhami Dev, it is their duty to punish those lives in the Narak, so Narakina Jivo, and it is their duty, so they get born there, but they have a level of enjoyment appropriate for their gatis. But in the middle region, if you look below us, there are bhavans of devs, meaning that they got palaces or abodes. On the left here, it says 10 abode dwelling gods, 10 Bhavanpati, 15 Paramadhami, 15 Paramadhami. So, and I think this seems to suggest that, Bharatbhai, correct me if I'm wrong, do the Paramadhami devs go up to the third Narak?
Yes, Ajitbhai, they go up to third.
Up to the third Narak. So the Paramadhami devs have a duty to perform, which is to punish those souls in the first, second, and third Naraks. Below that, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh Naraks, there are no Paramadhami devs, and the pain and suffering in those Naraks is much greater, but it is as a result of the space itself, which is extremely hostile, and the mutual infighting of those souls who find themselves there, and the others are constantly killing them. Remember that Devs and Naraks Jeev have got Vaikriya Sarir. So when they fight with each other, or when Paramadhami Devs punish them and do things to their bodies come back together. So because they are bodies made of Vaikriya Sarir that are indestructible until the time that the Ayusha Karma finishes.
So does that mean, Ajitbhai, that that Paramadhami god can
Yeah.
go up to the level 3 of the Narak?
Yeah.
And they decide on the punishment of the soul which are in those three Naraks.
Yeah, they punish
But
them.
then do they not bind the karma by giving punishment to somebody else?
Absolutely, they do. And there are explanations of who becomes a Paramadhami Dev. And then there are stories of that. But Paramadhami Devs are ultimately have bound karma to take them to that level. And they, of course, suffer for the in the future lives, they would suffer for all that kashai and that punishment that they meted out to those souls in Narak.
So that they could potentially end up in the very last Narak, which is the 7th or whatever it is.
They could, or they may not. You see, ultimately it is the balance. So a lot of souls, even in the highest Narak, can go straight down. I mean, from Devlok, they don't go down to Narak, but in other life forms, progressive climbing down is not impossible. And there is a worse space or worse life form, even than Narak. So if you look at the life of a soul in Nigod, Nigod is the primal soup, as we might want to call it, from where all our journeys start. And Nigod is a place where multiple or infinite number of souls occupy one body. They all live together and die together. And it is said that within the span of one swasoswas, or one breath, the souls in Nigod are born 18 times, die 17 times. So 17 and a half times and all the souls together occupying that one particular body would become alive and die together in an extremely short lifespan, and it would be possible to go back to that state of existence where the soul has got a minuscule amount of awareness. It is still a life form, but it may appear as if there is no life there at all, but there is awareness there. And that is much worse. And a soul, say in a seventh narak, can spend a maximum of 33 sagrupam. In Nigod, our souls, before we started out circulating, we would have spent infinite amount of time. And it is possible to go back to that and spend an infinite time. But the positive thing there would be that we do not need to, we wouldn't have be restricted to a soul going to moksha before we are released from that vyavhar rashi of narak, vyavhar rashi of nigod, sorry. Vyavhar rashi is being in circulation. Avyavhar rashi is not being in circulation. So we start off from avyavhar rashi. When one soul in the universe goes to moksha, then one soul is released from the avyavhar rashi of nigod and comes into circulation and progresses from other kinds of one sense life forms and goes on to, depending on the kinds of karma it binds as it goes along, into different life forms. There is an example of one soul that was released from nigod into the life of a tree, and the next life after that, that soul becomes a human being, the mother of Bhagwan Rishabdev, Marudeva Mata. And she goes to moksha immediately from that life. So an extremely fast journey towards moksha from nigod to a life of a tree, then the life of a human being, mother of a Tirthankar, and in the same life achieving Keval Gnan and then Nirvana. But that example is a unique example. In universal terms, it's like winning an impossible lottery. It wouldn't happen to any one of us. But that is the journey of the soul from nigod to nirvana. And it is not usually a smooth ride up. It is huge numbers of swings up and down, up and down, up and down for infinite amount of time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. And also, one of my other misunderstanding got resolved as well, because I thought once the soul is out of nigod, then you don't go back to it ever. But you said we can.
We can go back to nigod in what is called the vyavhar rashi, meaning that you are still in circulation.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
you're not restricted to getting out of that because until another soul goes to moksha. So we owe thanks to every soul that makes the effort to progress spiritually and goes to moksha. We are out here and have progressed to becoming human beings and are sitting here listening to what Jain Dharma is saying, directly related to their progress started off with a soul going to moksha. And we don't know who granted us that particular lottery, but whoever it was, we are all here because, and for each individual one of us, there has been that great benefactor. Sandeep?
Yeah. The last question you just mentioned, I was just relating to that. That's for the Narak log. But if you say the same thing about the Dev log,
Mm.
if the Devs, they can't achieve Nirvana straight. They have to be in a Manusha log and then achieve Nirvana. But theoretically, because they've got all these powers and they don't need food and all that for a long time and all that, they can do penances,
They cannot.
and they can go to where the Tirthankars are and so on. Theoretically, is it possible for them to do all these penances and all that
No.
when they are in when they are devs, to reduce the time taken for them to achieve nirvana?
No.
Or
They cannot actually,
not directly, no.
no, cannot, they may not need food for 1,000 years, but they cannot take a vow to say, I will not eat. So that kind of karma nirjara in the form of tap is impossible. They cannot do a samaik because it's the nature of their place that they are. I mean, excuse me, my battery is running low. Yeah. So accumulation of karmas and release of karmas carries on in every life form. But in Devlok, because there is no facility or no possibility of uh, achieving nirjara of karma to the level that can be achieved in a human life form, there is no possibility of progressing towards moksha from that. But the changes that they can make in terms of their understanding. So a lot of devs spend a lot of time celebrating the lives of Muni Bhagwans. They have a great desire of being born as human beings and becoming a monk in their next lives. And there are stories of, so if you listen to the story of uh, the origin of the Murti in Girnar, the Murti of Bhagwan Nimnath, you listen to the story of the origin of the Murti of Bhagwan Parshvanath in Sankheswar. Those Murtis have had very long journeys, and they were first created, conceived by somebody who was told that when they asked Tirthankar Paramatma, when am I going to moksha? So he said, okay, that particular person, so you will go to moksha in the time of Tirthankar, the 22nd Tirthankar of this particular Chovisi, the Nimnath Bhagwan, and a huge amount of time in the previous Chovisi, he created that Murti, and then slowly that Murti moved from place to place, and it's finally there in Girnar, where we can see it, and you heard that story. So the Devs have done those kinds of things, and they obviously visit, as we'll hear with Bhagwan Parshvanath's life, in his life before being Bhagwan Parshvanath Tirthankar Paramatma. He spends a huge amount of time celebrating the different kalyanaks of the Tirthankar Paramatmas that were born during his life as a Dev, previous to the life as Bhagwan Parshvanath. So he has attended a huge amount, and that is why Bhagwan Parshvanath is worshipped so much, because the amount of punya that he accumulated, the effect of that is still felt, and that is why he is probably the most popular Tirthankar Paramatma. There are more temples devoted to Bhagwan Parshvanath in this day and age now than any other Tirthankar Paramatma.
Yeah, so when Dave he does some kind of penance, or he goes to where Tirthankar Bhagwan is and so on, and does some kind of things. He actually, if he does something good, that will just give him punya rather than
Exactly.
get his karma
Yeah.
reduced.
Yeah. So the thing is that even if you are above here, that means if you are never going to go to moksha, you can still go to one of the higher devloks.
Yeah,
But the purpose of understanding this is that what then is real dharma that takes you to moksha? Punya and pap are basically accumulation of karmas, good and bad. But ultimately, to go to moksha, you got to get rid of all the karmas. And what is it that gets you ready to get rid of all the karmas? And how do you progress from there? And I think we've discussed that at some stage, but we need to keep on exploring that in more depth. I don't know what
yeah.
it is now.
No, that's what I thought. Because
Yeah.
Devs have got those kind of powers, they would be able to do it much easily than us. That's what I thought. But they only get more punya rather than reduce the karma. Is what happens really.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just a summary, Bhagwan Parshvanath, Life 1, Marubhuti, Kamat, Life 1, Kamat, Life 2, Bhagwan Parshvanath, Elephant, Life 2, Snake, who is responsible for killing that elephant because the hatred surfaces and towards a being that he has no knowledge of who he is, but the hatred just erupts. Third life, Bhagwan Parshvanath's Jeev as a Dev. Third life, Kamat's Jeev as Narak. Fourth life, Bhagwan Parshvanath's Jeev, Kiran Veg Vidyadhar. And fourth life of Kamat is large snake python, who then also ends up killing, eating Kiran Veg Vidyadhar, who has become a monk and is studying in meditation. And the next life after that, ભગવાન પાર્શ્વનાથજી from the life of Kiran Veg કાળ કરીને 12મા દેવલોકમાં જંબુદ્રવમાં વર્ત નામના વિમાનને વિશે 22 સાગરોપમના આયુષ્યવાળા દેવતા થયા. So he goes to Devlok in the 12th heaven with a lifespan of 22 sagarupam. The python, the life of Kamat, મહાસર્પ તે હિમગીરીના શિખરમાં ફરતો ફરતો અન્યદા દાવાનળથી દગ્ધ થઈ ગયો. So he gets caught in a forest fire, and that particular python snake, the huge ajgar, gets burnt in that fire. ત્યાંથી મરીને 22 સાગરોપમની સ્થિતિવાળો. So he has a similar lifespan of 22 સાગરોપમ્સ. તમ પ્રભા નરકમાં નારકીપણે ઉત્પન્ન થયો. ત્યાં 250 ધનુષ્યની કાયા વડે તે નરકની તીવ્ર વેદનાને અનુભવતો સુખનો એક અંશ પણ મેળવ્યા વગર કાળ નિર્ગમન કરવા लाग्यो. Now, Tamaprabha, I don't know if you can see here, the sixth hell, it's called Tamaprabha, and the seventh hell is called Tamastama Prabha. Tamastam Prabha, the sixth hell. So a lifespan of 22 Sagrupam, and whereas Bhagwan Parshvanath's Jeev is up here in the 12th Devlok, with a similar lifespan. So the question that I want to leave you with, I know we are nearly, and we'll come to the next life next week, but what is the fundamental sin? What is the primal fault? If you are familiar with the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible, the idea of eating the forbidden apple, which was prohibited, but appeared very attractive and was eaten, and then life for Adam and Eve carried on from there. So paradise ended. So what is the fundamental fault that ensures that we carry on in this life, afterlife, in sansar, and never finding the release to go and progress towards moksha, that is our natural state? There is a word for it. It's called mithyatva salya. That is the 18th papsthanak. Out of the 18 papsthanak, the 18th one is called mithyatva salya. And that sin of misconception, of forgetting who we are, forgetting and not knowing what we are, and constantly being attracted to everything that is outside of us. Nature has no facility or no mechanism by which something that is not of yours can be made yours. So everything that we desire, which is of a material nature, can never be part of us permanently. But our constant misconception drives us towards these desires, which push us towards acquiring all those temporary material things, attaching our emotions, our minds to those temporary material things, and believing that they will be with us permanently, and for us to find it very difficult to abandon them. And that is not just material, it is also people, relationships, and most of all, our own identities. Our own identities meaning who are true. So our identification with ourselves by virtue of name, by virtue of position in society, by virtue of profession, by virtue of attachment to children, wife, parents, etc., and our constant experience or acceptance that that is life. Whereas life does not exist in any of that. Life exists within ourselves, because that which is alive is us. That is the soul. And that is permanent, because this life that we are living now, as soon as we die, the next life will have completely different new sets of relationships, new sets of relatives, new sets of materials. So imagine you are a bird in the next life, then your chicks, your eggs, your nest, the trees that you live in are part of your life. And you have no recollection of where you were. And one may be born in the same place. So there are lots of stories that we hear about because of our attachment to those different materials in our previous lives, we get born as subhuman life forms, as Therians, as animals, very near where we were. And there is a story of somebody called Maheshwar Dutt, which maybe at some stage we can recite as part of this understanding, that highlights exactly what happens when we attach ourselves to this many different things, so many different things. And that misconception is the fundamental fault, that misunderstanding of who we are and what is of us and what to pursue, because we are constantly pursuing things that are not part of us. They'll never be part of us. And that is why we accumulate karmas. Hope that makes sense, and hope that wasn't too heavy, but I want to leave you with that thought to think about. What am I considering mine, which is not mine? Okay.
Sorry, Ajitbhai, one question,
Yeah.
nothing to do with, on the 9th of April, there's a jap
Yes.
between 8. What's the significance behind that one? Do you know? I don't
It's a
know.
Naukar mantra jap, and I think, sorry, is that Hasubai?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I think currently, and I presume this is where it is born from, I haven't understood that particular significance of that particular day, but on the 29th of March, there has been a very inauspicious planetary configuration, which suggests that there are great difficulties that are on their way over the next 5 years or so for the whole world. And in terms of astrological predictions, these indicate what the difficulties are. I mean, they're not, obviously, Jain Dharma doesn't say that things occur because of the planets. The planets are, then the positions are indicators of something that is auspicious or inauspicious. And the current positions indicates a huge amount of turmoil and difficulties for the whole world over the next few years. So the general advice is that the only way to counteract that is to increase the level of good and the spiritual element of it in your life. And this particular day on a global scale of, say, I think this is being encouraged in about 34 different countries. So the whole day of Nokar Mantra Jap to create a positive vibration to help reduce the effect of all the negativity that is going to be surrounding us over the next few years. And if you are looking at what the world is now, and if you look at how the Jyotish is many different types, and it's not just one person. If you listen to any of the famous astrologers, a lot of them will tell you what the current positions of the stars is actually indicating for the world. And the Naukar Mantra job is to reduce the negativity of that on a global scale. You can. But generally, our Guru Bhagwans are encouraging us to become more and more focused on our spiritual selves, to become more focused on reducing our sinful activities, of harming other living beings, of reducing our negative emotions, our krodh, man, maya, lobh, rag, dvesh, all those things. And Naukar mantra is a reminder of that.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Okay. We'll meet again in a week's time. Stay well. And thank you very much, Bharatbhai, for your help as always. Chinagna viruddh kai pan bolyo ho, kesavai manochan kaya kari tasmichhami duguram. Sarvamangala Sarvakalyana Karanam Pradhanam Sarvadharmanam Jainam Jaiti Sasanam. If I said anything that's against the teachings of Tirthankar Paramatmas, then I ask for forgiveness. Okay. Bijal, thank you very much for sharing that slide.
Just a request, and I think you might have seen it on the chat, that if you can share the slide with the Nurk and the Servaloks.
Yeah. Can I share it on here on this?
No. If you can share it with everybody on email, please. Send it to Sandeep, and then he will.
I'll send it to Sandeep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Ajitbhai. That was really useful, very informative.
I'll forward Bijal Ben's slide to Sandeep on WhatsApp, and then you can share it from there. Yeah, that'll be the easiest. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pranam, Ajitbhai, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bharat.
Thank you, Ajitbhai. Thank
Jai
you.
Jinendra.
Jai